Hey, everybody, good morning. My name is Alex, and thank you for joining. Happy National Day here in China. It's October the 1st, probably still on the East Coast. It's September 30th where you are. Today, we'll probably try to bring in some guests on the show. One of the guests that we had, Danny, coming on today's program, just moved to a new location, so he's trying to figure out his internet. We'll see what happens there. Thank you, everyone, for joining the chat. Hi, Kevin. Great to see you here, and good morning to you, Single Speed, as well. Lots to cover today. Lots to cover. So we're going to just do a bit of a sound check. If you guys are cool with my sound, we will continue on with this live stream. Wow. So much to cover today. So much to cover today. If you guys want to put in the chat on the side there, let us know where you guys are from. That would be helpful so I know what time zones to target, and we will go from there. Today's program is the U.S. and China position. It's always interesting conversation when you talk about these two nations, especially in this geopolitical time that we are in. Okay, so thanks for joining as well, Ken. Greatly appreciated that you could spend your Friday evening with me here in the lovely studio of iChongqing. And if you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button down below in the description, as well as I think some of you guys know me from Reportify Media. So we have a lot to cover. I want to talk about something that I was just viewing before coming on to the show. It was talking about the U.S. president was concerned about the rebuilding of the Florida after the hurricane that just ripped through that state just recently. My heart goes out to all those people that are in really difficult times. Mother Nature can really wreak havoc on this world, and it does send us messages once in a while that we need to slow down and take in life, because you never know what could happen. Now, my concerns on seeing the president address that, where he says Florida can be rebuilt, I have a few issues with comments like that. I think as a president of the United States, that's a pretty easy answer. But it comes for actions and what is happening. When you see a country that just yesterday wrote another check for multi-billion dollars of war machinery going into the Zelensky government, that has to make you wonder where the priorities are. And if you're a U.S. taxpayer, I would not be a happy camper seeing that much money being sent over to the other part of the world. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining. So with that, my concerns are the following. How are we going to get out of this mess? I don't think we are. I think that this geopolitical turmoil that we are in right now will continue for quite some time. I don't see a December end, a January end, a February, or anything like that. We are talking about nations that have poured hundreds and billions of dollars into the war machine. And that is going to cause some serious damage, especially to their economies. We've seen it happen. The United Kingdom, the pound has been pounded. We've seen the euro fall under parity to the US dollar. We saw energy prices skyrocket. Just watched a news headline just before coming on the show here about energy prices in the United Kingdom. They think it's good news that your utility bills are only going to go up 25%. That's as much as they can move them up. That's the ceiling. So great news if you're living in the United Kingdom. They're only going to bring up your electricity bill 25%. That's domestic users. That's the household users. But let's talk about the business users, the pub owners, the restaurant administrations, the hotels, the tourist boards. Not happening. No luck for you guys. The government says they will do what they can to help you, but that is really, really a difficult position to be in. Yes, just reading some of the comments here. Billions get sent to the Ukraine on a monthly time frame. It's a shame when everything is crumbling in the United States. I have to kind of agree with you on that. We do have people that do parade that America, everything is fine and dandy and everything is open. I've always been a believer that the market is not open. The world economy, the market is not open until this country, China, is open. Now, let's look what we've been through here in the last couple of months. We've seen a Nord Stream entire pipeline taken pretty much off the grid, 1 and 2. And these were at the tune of, I believe what the report I was reading earlier this morning, between 20 and 30 billion dollars, not including how much money they make. And the thing is that now there's speculation about who did it, big conspiracy around it, who's involved in it. But all I know is Germany will not be getting anything through those pipelines for the foreseeable future. And that is very concerning when you know that Germany is the largest economy in Europe. That is a catastrophic situation to deal with. Having said that, you guys know that 4 regions have joined Russia to add I think it's total land. Let me do a calculation here. Total amount of new land that has been added to the Russian Federation is 100,000 kilometers. And I haven't got an actual update on the population, how much the population will be added there. Now, I know that's a difficult conversation to have and a very complex situation to follow. Ukraine, I have a good friend of mine there, and I'm pretty sure that most of you guys that are in the chat know that my friend is an American guy. His name is Patrick Lancaster. He has been in that region prior to the coup d'etat in the capital of Kiev that removed their president and put in a new president, unelected at the time, which at that time, I pretty much am certain that this conflict, you can say, day zero started. And ever since that time, over the years, the situation was very complex, a geopolitical hot potato, and a situation that never really resolved itself. And what we've now seen is diplomatic channels that have broken down. We have seen no governments pretty much talking to anyone. We've seen, when that happens, and then all you see is the only channels that these governments are talking about are, hey, how much should we fund for this? How much should we fund for that? How much artillery should this country? And the only diplomatic channels I see between Europe and the United States are them organizing how much military equipment they're going to send into the Ukraine. And I just want to kind of back up a bit and explain this a little bit more detail to you guys. When you're seeing this much artillery being sent, and we're not talking $5 million or $10 million worth, we're talking tens of billions of dollars of hardware. And that is a lot of money, a lot of hardware that is going into Ukraine. Now, let's think about this for a moment. We'll just call him Zelensky. We won't use his full name for the algorithm purpose. When you see that type of hardware going in to that country of the Ukraine, just look at the map of the Ukraine. Look at the map of the Ukraine. And look at where they're using that artillery. This isn't a nation against a nation. You can say it's Russia against Ukraine. Yeah, I get that. I understand that. But most of the fighting has been on Ukraine territory. And, well, of course, the disputed Donetsk Republic, which is now part of Russia, depending on which political person you're backing. But the situation is that artillery has been used to smash the infrastructure, to smash buildings, to smash people's livelihoods on the soil of Ukraine. So you are seeing Ukraine army using artillery in its own country. And that there, what kind of country is going to be left at the end? There is really no winner here from my standpoint. And that's incredibly sad for everyone. And what's it done is it's dragged down all these economies in Europe and made it very, very difficult for, sorry guys about the mic there, made it very difficult for many nations to even support what's going on here. So where do we go from here? And that's the complicated part, is where does one go and try to move forward from this? I don't think that Europe is ready to accept an error being made. When 27 or 28 European Union countries, I can't remember how many there are because the United Kingdom pulled out, I think 27 or 26 EU countries, when they have combined and put so much money, military power, NATO, into this, they can't really back down. And they're saying they're in it until the end. Well, I don't think Russia's going to back down either. Let's just see some of the restrictions that have been put into place for Russian nationals. If you're a passport holder of Russia, your opportunity to travel to the United States for business, for travel, are pretty much zero. Your opportunities to travel to the United Kingdom are pretty much zero. If you're connected in anything to do with business going into the United Kingdom, zero. You risk your bank accounts being seized or even probably arrested. If you are a football owner, not a good time to be. If you have a house in the south of France and you're a Russian, not happening. You probably can't go visit it, probably can't go sell it. The transaction would definitely be blocked and seized. So let's wipe out the business part first. And let's just say all business is off. And I don't think those relationships are going to move forward at all. I think they are going to cease. Russia has understood that. Russia has seen what the European Union is doing. Now, I don't think everybody's going to agree with me on all of some of my opinions, but we just have to look at history. Maps have been rewritten for years. Of course, this is modern day, seeing a map rewritten in front of us, but maps have geographically been rewritten for years. And this is one zone where I think that we should have let both sides work it out, or at least honor the agreement that they did sign, the Minsk agreement with Angela Merkel and at the time the president of France, which was signed, but never honored or never put into place, which now fast forward, look what happened. I'm just going to read some comments here in the side box here. And thank you guys for commenting. The Western country seizing Russian billionaires' property is beyond me. Like, why seize some guy's yachts? This is an indicator that when you start going at assets, and this should send shockwaves to you guys that are watching today, and girls, thank you. You should be really concerned about that. Anyone that has a property outside of their own nation should be concerned about that. What does that mean? Seizing property. So we've seen property being seized. We've seen yachts being seized, bank accounts, soccer clubs, you name it. Across the board, it's seized. And now we've gone to the business front, where the international community feels that it's within their best interest to pull out, shut down shops, affect businesses. If you are a business owner in Russia that has nothing to do with this conflict, too bad. They've targeted you as well. I was watching a heartbreaking story on YouTube here of a girl that ran a simple shop. She was making soaps. She was hand making soaps and delivering them throughout the world. Had a small little YouTube channel and was sending them, and within about 2 weeks of this situation that happened in the Ukraine and Russia, FedEx, DHL, and most of the providers for logistics left. And that pretty much destroyed her business overnight. Now, that is just one example. Who else has been affected? Well, if you were an owner of, a restaurant or a hotel, you can't accept Visa, MasterCard, American Express. You just can't accept those payments. And if your bank accounts were connected to the SWIFT, SWIFT code system, that's been revoked as well. So we've seen major Fortune 500 companies pull out of China, or pardon me, pull out of some of China too, but out of Russia. And this is going to have a catastrophic effect. There's even websites out there naming companies that you should target for still staying in Russia. So we have the canceled culture that we've seen in this world, and now we have the canceled country. And what do the collective West expect when they see a nation that has been sanctioned into an oblivion? I think the last time we checked, there was 6,500 sanctions on Russia. And I'm not condoning what both sides are doing. I'm just saying from a geopolitical standpoint, this is pretty crazy stuff. And when you start to really cancel things, those relationships were built over years. Imagine the hotel chains that are suffering. This is not a small country of 2 or 3 million people. Last time I checked, it was about 140 million people in Russia. The European Union would welcome these people. Even Turkey would welcome Russians down to enjoy the coastline. Well, Turkey was warned by the U.S. government that if they continued to accept certain payment plans in Turkey, from certain banks from Russia, that they will be sanctioned as well. So Turkey basically shut off the other part of the banking system that Russians could use. So now you're basically stuck in the country. And the Americans and the collective West are trying to put the squeeze on Vladimir Putin and his government and hoping to overturn it. Nice try, guys. That used to work in the old playbook. And my heart really gets hurt when I talk about America because, as a Canadian, I have lived beside America for at least 2.5 decades of my life before moving out into Southeast Asia. And what I've seen and what I've learned over the years in the past 2.5 decades is a playbook that is not working. What's it do? It causes havoc throughout the world. And I'm not talking about, just conflicts. I'm talking about sanctioning countries. You could just see just a few years ago, we have massive tariff and trade war with China. Does that make any sense to irritate one of your largest trading partners, which provides logistical items to you, even through a pandemic? China continued to stay open and support these economies around the world. It really is bothersome when you see that now they feel that the best strategy, since they can't use military force, which they have used military force in other countries, is to let's try sanctions. Russia will collapse. It will collapse. 1 week, 2 week, Putin, it'll collapse. It didn't. So let's try to then shut down the businesses. Let's be Starbucks. Let's be IKEA. Let's pull out. That definitely will make people upset. Let's be Burger King, McDonald's. Let's Coca-Cola. Let's all leave. Russia won't be able to survive. Let's stop buying oil and gas from them. Here is where they thought that you could just magically, and for all the people that know a lot about the oil and gas industry here, you guys can pipe in on this one, no pun intended, but pipe in on this one here. Does Europe really think the average guy who's now seeing his electricity bill sometimes go up as much as 400%. Really believe that Europe's got it covered and we have a full supply chain ready to go because we've shut off one that we've used for many years? Well, the financial markets are saying they're calling bluff. It's not happening. And that is really causing havoc. So they've risked their economies on this. The UK has risked everything. Germany is in deep, deep trouble. My hat and heart go off to the people that are trying to keep positive about this in Europe. But I still continue to say dark times are ahead, and I have said that on many occasions. So how do we get out of this mess? And I think we're going to see something happen here in the next few weeks. I just want to say hello if Fermube is watching. He just wished me happy holidays. Yes, great. By the way, you should send a crew to Henan. Amazing visuals. Okay, thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to send him he's just talking about aerials. I just told him I'm live, so I told him I'd send him a link if he wanted to join. Anyway, nice to hear from you, Fernando. Yeah, let's have a look at a couple more things here. Here's another comment that comes up here. Exactly. It doesn't make sense. It seems like it goes against the whole capitalism ideology. Completely agree. Completely agree with that. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, it's really, we've, I'm just saying, guys, I might bring Fernando on to the show. He's a great guy. He has a channel called, he has a few channels. This one of his main channels for Fermube, and the other one he has one. And if he comes on the show, he can tell you guys about that. But anyway, back to the subject here. Yeah, I really do think it is crazy on what was going on here. Here is a couple of other comments from Ken, who is a active watcher of our channel. Thank you for coming in here. Yes, sure. That just I'm just going to send, guys. I'm just going to send him a link to the show. I don't know if I can connect him to the show on his channel, but anyway, he can come and join and chat with me. I'm sure he's got a lot to say. But yeah, Ken, Europe was fooled by Hitler. Now the West is being fooled by similar people in Ukraine. God help them and us. Yeah, I mean, this is... When you cut off two major pipelines that are supplying a lot of the gas to Europe for what was a considerable great price, and then you're getting all your NATO countries involved, which they say NATO's not involved. You guys know that, right? NATO's not involved in this, right? Okay, they're not involved, but their hardware is involved, their bank accounts involved, their logistical routes to get this stuff are involved, but they're not involved, right? So this is really Russia up against the world, I would say, or at least most part of the world. It does have some smart people that have stayed out of this or have decided to say maybe use diplomacy. China, one of them. China is saying, go down the diplomatic channels. Where are you, France, in this negotiation? Where are you, United Kingdom? Where are you, America? Where are you, Canada? Where are you, Sweden? Where are you, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Spain? Where are you guys? Your citizens are getting absolutely obliterated in bank accounts. They're getting obliterated doing business. You can't tell me that none of these countries have any connections to do with Russia when it comes to spending money, even traveling, spending money doing business, whether it's, natural resources, whether it's, even here's another thing. I was told that there's going to be a potato shortage. And I was also told before even the sanctions were even in place, years ago, they targeted the potato market coming out of Russia with sanctions, even before we got into this conflict. So this has been going on for years. I did say, Fernando, pop into the backstage. If he gives me the thumbs up, I'm going to definitely connect him into this. And this could get quite interesting because I know that Fernando is very passionate about this kind of stuff. And let's bring him on to the program. There he is. Hi, how are you, sir? Good morning. Happy
Hey,
National
how are
Day.
you, Alex? Yeah, happy
Great, great.
National Day to you and to all the people from Chinese nationality that are watching. And thank you for inviting me to the show. And you talking about sanctions and those things get me really, really riled up. Out of nowhere, just out of left field, I would like to comment on America deciding to or threatening to sanction my country, Colombia, because we want to have flights from Venezuela come to Colombia. So.
Are you
Is
serious?
this? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And and Blinken is going to Colombia in the next few hours to, I don't know, just let our leftist president know what he's going to be facing. So this thing about sanctions is just it's who named America the police of the world, the owner of the world, who tells people who they can deal with and who they cannot deal with. Um, think about Germany. I was just talking to another friend of ours, Mario,
Mm-hmm.
and I was asking him. I was telling him like, look, if Germany had shown exercise its real sovereignty, he would have
Mm-hmm.
said like, no, I'm gonna buy gas from Russia. You don't like
Mm.
it? That's your problem. But I need gas. Russia's gonna give me gas. I'm gonna pay in rubles. That's it. My problems are solved. But no, I mean, these are states that are slaves, that are servants to America. And unfortunately, that causes the situations that we are seeing. I don't know if you guys have touched on the double or triple whammy that Nord
Uh,
Stream.
Tell
Uh,
me. Well, I did talk a little bit about the fiasco. Well, I love the conspiracy theorists that first
mhm,
start with. Now, of course, we're never 100% sure on these things,
mhm.
but I like the 99%. When I say 99%, why would somebody sabotage their own bloody pipeline when they spent billions to do it? And the rhetoric that came out of the Western media today was, "'Cause he's mad."
Because he's
Really?
crazy.
It's just, Fernando,
Let me.
you and I have had many conversations in live streams before, and we have held back, but man, is this really testing? I mean, does the collective West really think we, that, I'm from Canada, do they really think we're this stupid to believe this?
Wendy Sherman, right?
Mm-hmm.
She just went on a tweet this morning. The apparent sabotage. I mean, what kind of language is that? Apparent? Okay, so this just could have been a natural cause, a damage that just so happened. Apparent sabotage. Like you need to start going back and seeing who. Let me give you all the arguments that I have to
Okay,
to
ready.
defend my position. Number one, you have Trump saying the Germans need to stop being dependent on Russian energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Germans at the United Nations were laughing like, what you gonna do about it? Well, now we saw what they could do about it. You also had Condoleezza Rice back in the day saying, "Oh, we want to have Europe and Germany not dependent on Russian gas and oil. We want them to use our fracked gas and oil. So
I
we want
remember
them to
that.
know that they're." So even back then, they have shown this intention to disrupt this lifeline for Russia. It's a lifeline. And then let me continue. In this particular situation, Putin had his Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, which were joint.
Mm-hmm.
It was not just his, right? But he knew that that was his leverage. He had shown that he was ready to sit at the table and say, like, hey, just tell me when. Tell me when, and I open the valve. pay in rubles. That's all I ask of you. But they wouldn't. But that was his leverage. He, at any point, he could have opened the valves and show a sign of, hey, I want to work with you. I don't have anything against you. But now he lost that. I was likening it to, because we're YouTubers, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that I take my camera, right? And I
Right.
just bah, smash it on the ground and break it, destroy it. And I say, the anti China crew did it.
Mm.
The China haters did it. And
Mm-hmm.
let's suppose that I convinced everybody out there that yes, it was the anti China guys who did it. Okay, now then, what? Can I still make videos? No. It's the same thing with Vladimir Putin. He wouldn't destroy something that had so much potential for the future. I know there was no gas pumping through Nord Stream 2 at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
but it could have been 5 years, 10 years from now, when the United States empire completely declines and these countries are free to make their own decisions and exercise their sovereignty. Germany would have said, or Europe would have said, okay, give us your gas. So 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, this is something that could have been a huge amount of income for Russia. Why would he destroy that? It makes no sense. I mean, they're trying to make us believe that an ex KGB
Here
is
we
that
go.
stupid. You don't become a KGB agent being an idiot. This man is extremely smart, and he would do
Mm.
something as stupid as that. I don't know. That's my take.
Yeah, I want to add to that. And just for everyone who is joining the program and watching today here, Fernando has two channels I think that you should subscribe to. One of them is Fermube, just under his name there, as you can see. And he also has a really cool travel channel. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about that, then we'll carry on with our
Thanks, I
conversation.
appreciate it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Alex. Well, my channel is called "Are We There Yet?" channel, so you can. I'll probably type it in the comments in the section. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm traveling in my RV trailer, which is actually being pulled by an EV, which is also a bit unique, showing the possibilities of EV cars all throughout China. And I'm making content for you guys to see a side of China that not many people see. I try to not go to big cities because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have done big cities. So I try to go to small towns and spend 10 days or 7 days or even 2 weeks and get to know the stories about these places. Right now, I'm visiting my in-laws here in Henan, in Zhengzhou, and we just spent 10 days going to a place where the locals in the 1970s they built a road inside the face of a cliff. Is a place called Guoliang. I'm just about to start editing the video. These are cliffs that are 300, 500 meters high. And these people were tired of seeing their locals dying because the only way in and out of that area was a step ladder that they built with rocks. Some of the steps were as narrow as 40 centimeters. And imagine just walking up these steps, which is like almost 750 steps, carrying 50 pounds, 100 pounds of produce to take out and sell and make some money, and risk it at every step, hitting something on the wall that is just going to throw you to your death. So this had been happening for many, many years to the people of Golian, this place in Henan, until one day they all got together and said, like, okay, let's build a road into the cliff. And they started doing it. They make their own tools with makeshift furnaces, little picks and hammers, and they built this amazing road, which is like 1.2 kilometers long, into the face of the cliff. And it became such a sign of success. It took them 5 years to build this road. It became such a sign of success that it has now become a very hot place for tourism. People go there and, like I did, they fly their drones, they take pictures, they walk up and down this road because it's just a feat of ingenuity on the face of the challenges that nature poses. So it now is a 4A, which is, I think, is the maximum level of rating for tourism places in China. Maybe there are 5A. This is a 4A rating. And just to give you an idea how popular this place is, on May 1st of 2015, just before the pandemic, right? They had 100,000 visitors in that one day. That is crazy. So think about how this connects to things like poverty alleviation in China. Each ticket is more than 100 RMB. So multiply that by 100,000 people. That's millions and millions of renminbi that are being pumped into this tiny community of 300, 500 people, and they get to build more and more things. So they keep on expanding. They build some beautiful pond. They build some caves. They build some really nice hotels. And look, it's one of those things that makes you really appreciate the work that the local people do for themselves and the work that the government does to come and help them. So it's just one of the things that I do. I go to places where there's a story. I find the story and I shoot it. I try to do it as beautifully as possible and as brief as possible as well, because there's so much. The footage that I got from this place, it's in excess of 300, almost 350 gigabytes. So you can't really make a video with all that footage. You gotta select and make it a 5 or 8 minute video. But that's part of the job of editing. So that's the work that I do with Are We There Yet? I travel the country, showing you things that, well, not many other people are showing you, because it's not easy to do. You know, when you get to a place and you can stay for several days, you get to talk to the locals and hear stories and hear of places or things that are interesting to shoot. So that's my work. Oh, I see some familiar faces. Somtan, greetings. Hey, thanks. Somtan
Yeah,
is a big supporter of my channel. So no, thank you,
yeah,
Alex, for letting me introduce the work that I
no
do with Are
problem.
We There Yet?
That is a nice story, Fernando. And what happened to those nice stories in the collective West? Where have they gone? What happened to them? Now we're hearing is stories of misery, stories of starvation, stories of gunfire, stories of stabbings, stories of homelessness, one day after the other. And the more shocking it gets, the more that people just get accustomed to it. And here we are in the country of China, okay, right out that window there, right behind me, right behind me there. Here's a country that has stayed out of this.
Hmm.
They have put their head down and said, wait, diplomatic channels are the way to go. And you made a very good point about the media. The American media is an absolute atrocious machine, okay? It's probably one of the biggest propaganda machines on this planet, and they're very good at it.
Hmm.
But let's fast forward 10 years here and what China's media is going to look like in a decade. Well, I'm a person here that decided to, I don't say sacrifice, I decided to make it the next few years of my life to show the world, just like you, Fernando, what's really going on here. Now, our videos have been watched millions of times on platforms, and they continue to get watched more and more and more. If it's only one person that I can at least convince that what they've been watching and being shoveled on their collective West news networks is BS, then I feel that I've done my duty. Now, guys like you and I, we take a lot of flack from whether it's being targeted by Western media outlets that know that we're telling the truth. They know we're telling the truth. There's no denying that. I know I'm telling the truth. You could see it in our videos. The machine that they used to use to disseminate for information, well, there's an equalizer. And those equalizers now are the Patrick Lancasters that go out and show the world. They're the Fermubes. They're the Marios. They're the Alexes. They're the Guelo 60s. They're the Mexicanos in China. They're the Jio nations. They're all these people. These are the new, or the, I would say, most legitimate. And the funniest thing that I see that drives me crazy is when you see people going out and telling stories. For example, Patrick Lancaster, who, for all you guys that aren't familiar with Patrick Lancaster, he's a very good friend of mine. Just spoke with him yesterday. He has been in the Donetsk People's Republic, or we should say Russia now, since 2013, before things broke out. He stuck around, married a local, had some children, and decided one day to pick up a camera and put this on YouTube. Well, he was one of the first guys ever to be silenced on YouTube, demonetized immediately. One of the first guys. We're not talking last year, the year before, we're talking 2015. Then the crowdfunding sites. Yeah, the crowdfunding sites said, no, can't tell your story. Sorry, Patrick. PayPal said, sorry, guys, can't tell your story either. So he pretty much got shut down on his funding. I went and I visited him in person. We traveled to various locations together. And I decided that I'm going to donate to his channel and at least help him upgrade some of his equipment. And we had a great friendship. We went to some very interesting and some scary zones together. But over these years, this guy has, I have to tell you, he's not doing it for money. He's not doing it for the hit pieces that he got from Vice. He's not doing it for anything like that. But he has, pretty much saved every quarter that he can to continue to tell this story. Now, this story went off the radar in 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, off the radar completely. But he kept persevering and telling that story and kept doing it. And then his channel, from 25,000 just recently, grew to over 500,000 subscribers. Now you have to ask yourself, the West says he's propaganda, of course. Patrick Lancaster, propaganda, mouthpiece for the Kremlin. This kind of stuff, they use their own media to target guys that are actually trying to show good media. We should be respected by our media colleagues. Are we? No. When you ask a guy like Patrick Lancaster, well, you're not from accredited media. Why can, how can we believe your source? Well, Mr. BBC, well, Mr. CNN, who is reporting from Poland on the situation in Donetsk from a hotel room, when Mr. Lancaster is on the front line, watch the videos, hear the bombs going off behind his head. That is a bloody journalist today. And I'm not attacking the media. I'm attacking the message that they're trying to discredit people that put their time and energy into this. I'm saying now, in 10 years, this country here that has built everything under the sun is going to know how to combat the very, very, we'll call it, mixed message that you're sending your citizens, and they will get good at disseminating information. I got somebody else backstage. Should we bring him on? Is he ready?
Sure.
I got a thumbs up. Yeah, here we go. Oh, there he is. Mario Cavolo. Hello.
Hey.
Good morning, sir.
Gentlemen. So,
Happy National Day
up,
first.
well, I woke up thinking that we live in this idyllic, perfect, dreamy, wonderful world, and I'm not worried about anything. How about you guys?
No worry about a thing. Just worried about getting in my RV again and just take on the road.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder. Don't you worry about a thing. Remember that one, Mama? Don't you worry about a thing. Yeah, except the end of the world as we know it. Besides that little thing.
Yeah. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you look at the American markets and
Oh
you
yeah,
see the sea
we've.
of red.
So Alex, we should no. Let's note it. Let's note it for the folks because you and I have done a couple of economic, financially focused podcasts together. Let's do another one soon. By the way, we've officially done it. Right. I mean, the last 2 weeks we weren't sure what the market was there, coming to those lows again, and as we all know, the American market because of the retail traders and other manipulation. It might fire back up on another, bear market rally bounce thingy, which messes with the heads of all the bears.
Mhm.
But it didn't happen. We now know officially this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it is 100% official. We have gone to the new lows. SPY closed last night, I think, at 357. We've gone to it. We're there. We're done. It's official. And that means a lot because that was one item, as you know, as a trader, that was one item that everybody's wondering about. Are we gonna go, or is the low in or not? And now that we know that now we know definitively, traders, financial guys out there, we now absolutely know. Now we know that the bottom isn't in. We didn't know that.
Yes, of course.
We didn't know it, bro, but we didn't know it for sure 2 days ago because we didn't know if we were going to breach it or not. Breached it, party's over, and now we don't know where the bottom is. You suggested to me yesterday, it's pretty far down.
Yeah, it's. I think here's the thing. If you're and Ken has been saying here just in the chat, he says he's been retired 8 years, and the stock market is not making my retirement any better. Here's the issue.
Yeah.
If you have the ability to maintain your life and maintain your lifestyle, and you're retired, and let's say most of your assets are paid off, and you can get through this geopolitical mess and not have to tweak your portfolio to live, okay, then you're going to be okay. If you're a person that has used part of your stock portfolio to buy a house, maintain your living,
Yeah.
you have a big issue here. And this issue, we saw how fast this market can accelerate up and accelerate down. Here's the deception of the media, and I talked about this yesterday, I think, or a day before in a live stream. They actually put the print of last year, 3,600, and even during the 2020 sell-off after the pandemic ripped its way into America. Did you know that in most financial magazines, they'll say, well, the printed low of the S&P was around the 3,600 mark. They're using the last year print for that, okay? Yeah. But during that year, that market went down to 2,200 handle on the S&P. We're at 36 now, and people are screaming. Well, actually, we're at 35.85 right now.
Yeah, we broke through.
We got a. And if you guys look at the VIX, the VIX, it's the volatility index, or we'll call it the stress index. Once that gets over 30, look out, because that can go 30, 35, 40, and then 100, just like that. Yeah. And we're almost there. We're almost there.
Let's make the other comment, and this is for the guys who probably don't spend as much time as us watching the markets. Fernando, maybe you're a really good example, but you'd like to know these kind of key things. The last two apples to fall off the tree, no pun was intended, but the last two stocks, the two most important stocks that were holding up, and if those two fell below certain support levels, then we knew definitively the party was over. We were going to fall through the June lows, the 3,600 lows. And all of that happened in the last 3 days. Apple, as you know, Alex, plummeted. Once Apple broke 150, definitively Once it broke, it went back above, broke it again, went back above. Third time's a charm. Yesterday and the day before, Apple definitively broke through 150 and is now well heading toward 130. It plummeted. It dropped like a bomb, and so did Tesla. So Apple and Tesla were the last two, quote, branches holding things up. They've gone, toast gone. We're in big trouble, and the market is telling us we're in big trouble with what's happening in the global economy, the Ukraine war, et cetera, et cetera. The conversation that we could have for the next 5,000 hours.
And I see, why you're mentioning Apple.
Yeah.
Apple's in a lot of portfolios, guys.
It's
in a lot of hedge funds.
Biggest, right? It's the biggest
everywhere.
cap. Right. That's why I mentioned
So you're not going to see that come out on your printed monthly statement next month. You're not going to see it the month after that. You're going to see it on the quarter. And now what they're going to do now is probably we're now heading into October. October is always notoriously bad for the market anyway. And then they hope for the Santa rally because that quarter comes up there. But you see on the screen here, I've got Apple up here. But here's something else I want to show you guys, okay? And please pay attention to this because this one is very important here.
Pay attention to Alex, guys. He's a pro. He's an experienced trader for many, many years. Pay attention to what he has to say.
This is a CBOE volatility index. Now, that's a 31 right now. Okay, now what that kind of means is things are starting to boil. You ever boiled water on the stove and you watched it and it's like watching water boil. It's not so interesting. Okay, I get that. I understand that. Now, here's the problem. If that thing spikes, and watch it closely, okay, if that thing spikes, you can see 14 here is the low. That means that this thing goes down in price if the market is doing well, okay?
Yeah, if the market's calm. Yeah.
And there's the 38-week range there, okay? Or there's the 52-week range. Hopefully you guys are following me on this here. And so the more that the market falls, the higher this is going to go up. Okay, now let's go a little bit of a history lesson for you guys here. Let's go to a 5-year graph here. Look at that. You see this here?
Hello.
Hello, COVID. A 66 handle. Look at the high was 85.47. What does that... Now, when I hear people say this comment, you guys have heard me, I've defended this many times. When people say it's not a crash or it bounced back, when you have an 85 on that VIX, we'll call it volatility index, you got an 85, margin calls, hedge funds, pension plans, they get blown out and they get sold off. And then it calms down. Yeah, no problem. But it's been higher than this, guys. It was higher than this in 2018. I mean, it's peaked. You can see all the peaks. And every one of these peaks, you can see that 2008-9, housing crisis. 2011, we had another, we'll call it more of resetting, bubble. Okay, bubbles. And you can see every time it spikes. But there was the 2020 there. And that's when it hit, I believe, 2,200 on the S&P. So... where do we go on this?
Yeah.
Is there a silver lining on this? Yes, there is. You can first, you need to sit down with your financial advisor, ask them how you can protect your portfolio, ask them what is in that portfolio, as well as you can diversify. And that's always, there are some really, really smart guys in this business, okay? Some of them might not be with the major firms. Some of them might be the guy at the credit union that's at the end of the small street in the small town in America, the guy that knows what he's doing. But it's good to shop around and ask questions right now. Ask what's in that portfolio. Tell me what's in my portfolio. If they just say, well, it's gone down X percent, well, what's in it? Is it high tech? Is it energy? Is it, all these things? And follow the geopolitical trail right now. I can tell you that you haven't seen nothing yet in natural gas. This is nothing.
Oh yeah.
We're just getting cooking on the natural gas.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at natural gas while we're at it, and then we'll relay back into some other stuff here. Well, let's
Alex, while you're popping in the natural gas, let me jump in.
yeah.
The last 6 months, and this has been our conversation, lots of analyst conversation has been, is if X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C, and X, Y, and Z, these are the items that if they unravel, that's when the market will go down. So the market didn't even collapse yet. The market has gone down from its high at, I think, 4,800. Now, finally, it's broken through 36. Okay, we're officially in a bear market, 20% down. That's not a market crash. That's just a bear market. We're 20% down from the highs, maybe 23% down from the highs. Okay, and all this time, all the analysis has been, well, all the important things have not come unglued yet. All this time, the last, say, 6 months, right? We're all been watching. The concern, amplified by and aggravated by the Ukraine war and this economic problem and that economic problem and China this and trade that and infrastructure problems and fertilizer and just all those things, okay, have been the things we've all been watching, 5, 6, 7 items, as to whether or not they come unglued. Now they are coming unglued. So this is what we want our viewers to understand. We're not talking about we might have a problem. We're talking about, for example, something that no one outside of Germany ever thinks about, something an American would never think about, something you'd never hear about or think about, which is, for example, German manufacturing right now is pretty much shut down. They are in so much trouble. Their market is their internal market economically is, because of the energy problems, because of the energy crisis, it's in a free fall. Okay, the UK economy is in free fall. These things, okay, are coming unglued. Now it's happening. Now it is happening. So I feel like we're finally in that pocket where what happens, how the reaction to all these things coming unglued, which is happening in this 30-day period, is pop, 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 right? You know, in an action movie, when there's a flood on the ship and the rivets start popping out of the steel, pop, 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 right? That's what's happening finally. That's what we've been seeing. Is this going to happen over the next 6 months, right? And it's happening now. That's why the market went to new lows. Monday, I don't know. Depends on what else happens over the weekend. But Nord Stream, the Nord Stream sabotage, I think acted as the real catalyst to the reality of the things coming unglued now. So Monday, I don't know. Monday next week could be a bloodbath. Don't know. Have no idea. But anyway, thank you letting me get those thoughts off. Go continue, Alex.
I wanted to ask you guys who have a lot more experience about this and a lot more knowledgeable than me. But how do we see the dollar getting strong against every other currency? And is that growth and that strength of the US dollar real in any way? Is it sustained?
It's real, and it's a disaster.
Is it supported by anything? Is it supported by added GDP? What is it supported on? Or is it just?
Yeah, I'm going to change my camera battery, guys. One sec.
Okay.
Okay. While he's doing that, Fernando, it doesn't matter what anyone perceives as the real value of the U.S. dollar. There's a lot of debt. America has 30 trillion in debt, so the dollar's not worth anything. It's going to crash and burn. Forget all that. Doesn't matter. What matters is the dollar is the transactional currency of the world. By the fact that the dollar is the world reserve currency, if there's a problem in China or in any other country outside of the United States and debts need to be settled, what currency do they need to be settled in? The world has previously agreed or created the fact that all of those debts, which are now spinning out of control, must be settled. Well, they must be settled in what? I just said. In what? In the world's reserve currency, which is, whether anybody likes it or not, or anyone has any perception of how much value it has, is what? The USD. Well, if everybody and their mother suddenly needs USDs, what do we have? A liquidity problem. It's like 10 people sitting around the room saying, I want a glass of orange juice. And there's only 1 liter of orange juice sitting on the table. You've got a shortage of orange juice, folks. And so now that orange juice becomes worth, how much do you want for a glass of orange juice? Well, I really want orange juice. I'll give you $10 a glass. I'll give you $10 for a glass. We've only got a liter sitting on the table. Same idea. Liquidity crisis. There's not enough dollars to go around. So the value of the dollar is now parabolically going through the roof. It's artificial. And then that exacerbates the imbalances in terms of inflation, right? This is the disaster. And once it hits this point, it's literally out of control. These financial guys like Powell at the Fed and many previous, and the European Union monetary policy, it's now out of their control, which is why I use the words unglued. The dollar may continue parabolically up another 15, 20%. And every percent it goes up is now in disaster. We're already in disaster territory because it throws the inflation balance so out of whack. And everybody knows what that means is in terms of economic and therefore societal disaster for the people. And that's when the pitchforks come out.
And let me add to that.
When the dollar is stronger, it incentivizes imports from a country like China. I mean, their dollar is going to buy more.
Right.
So
let me add to that then, Fernando. You're talking about a supply chain, which let's talk U.S. and China here. U.S. China. Okay. So you got the Americans that have a strong dollar, and the Chinese are selling their goods. Well, 1 yuan, 1 RMB is 1 RMB here. Hasn't really changed much in the last year or two, right? Okay.
A little bit. 7. We're up to 7.
No, but I'm talking about locally.
It doesn't change things locally. Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
When you're going out to buy a bag of groceries, has much changed in the last year? Not to me. No, not at all. In fact, some things have kind of gone down. Okay. Now, you're importing in the United States of America. You go to buy, let's say, parts for a bicycle. Okay, I'm calling America the Lego economy. And why it's called the Lego economy is most of the stuff they import, they assemble. Car manufacturers. They're not manufacturers in the United States. They're assembly plants. So what do they get? They get a box like Lego. There's the tires, there's the windows, there's the logos, there's the stereos, there's the brake pads. Let's put it all together and let's call our assembly plant, well, we're manufacturing vehicles. Well, you kind of are. So you import these from China. Right, now you might think, for the import, we're going to make money and we're doing well. Well, are we? Let's look at the price of shipping to start with. What's it cost to bring this stuff over? Well, it used to be $3,000 to $4,000 for a 40-foot cubicle container. Now it's $20,000. That's the first start. So you might win on the cost of a good, but on the shipping, not happening. Then you got to remember that inflation's running rampant in the United States. So logistical deliveries within that country are costing a lot of money. Electricity is starting to cost a lot of money. Labor is starting to cost a lot of money. Taxes are starting to cost a lot of money. And here's the crunch. When you assemble, import, put together to export, we always hear the trade imbalance with the United States and China is China has a trade imbalance of $60 billion a month with the Americans. That is an invalid way to look at it. It's like me saying, okay, I'm a Canadian. I'm going to import 1,000 brake pads that I know I have a buyer in Colombia for these cars, for example, right? So I'll import to Canada. Now that will be a negative. Unless I'm exporting back to China, that would be a 1-to-1 trade. So I'll have automatically a deficit. Now let's say I have a deficit of $1 million to China. But then I have a net positive trade surplus to Colombia, right? But Colombia's got to buy my product in American dollars. And it's the end of the line where the true value comes out. They're winning in imports, but they're getting absolutely smoked on exports. Now, what does America do with their exports? What do they export? Well, they do export a lot of things, but also services. YouTube is a big company. Google's a big company. What do they sell their services in? American dollars. Now, for advertisers, not like the small guys like us, but let's say advertisers. Let's say a company in, I don't know, Germany, or a company that wants to advertise in America. Well, they might have spent $100,000 on advertising, and it might have costed them 80,000 euros 6 months ago. Well, that 80,000 euro budget is now, that used to buy 100,000 in advertising, only buys 78,000. So right just in that transaction, people recalculate. And that's why you're seeing the Facebooks. That's why you're seeing iPhones. iPhones are going to be more expensive to people. That's a prime example. Export, import, so let's send the product out. Or so China builds it, sends it to the U.S. The U.S. then, remember, developed in California, not assembled in California, not put together in California, designed in California. So why do you think Apple's getting smoked? It's getting smoked because people are going to say, wait a minute. And here's where I'm going to end off my 2 cents about this economy and where you guys can kind of play it safe. First of all, don't go out and buy a new car. Okay? Keep your car. Whatever you can do, if you have excess stuff, this isn't financial advice. This is just something that I would tell my own mother, okay? If you have that extra thing that you don't use, the average Canadian has a bloody motorhome. They're everywhere. Sell it. Get something for it right now. Or you might even want to live in it, which is a good idea too, if you can.
Somebody we know.
Right. But start slashing those luxuries now. Slash them. Because the guys above you, they're going to be blowing everything out. Don't worry. If you sold that nice motorcycle that you liked or that whatever, you're going to be able to get it cheaper 6 to 9 months from now.
Deflation.
Stay still. Travel a bit less. Stay at home. Spend more time with the family and with the loved ones. Because if you're out there traveling in this world right now, first of all, it's crazy to see what's going on in the planet. The air prices, they're not going to go down soon. Trust me, they're going to get reset. Traveling is going to be a luxury unless you're smart like Fernando here and does it the right way. It's crazy. Cook more meals at home. Go out less. Save money. You can do it if you still have a job. It's time to save. It's time to have that off the grid mentality right now and just save. Even if you want to go out. I saw a report, guys, and I'm going to shut up now in a second, but my sister is classic. I have 3 sisters, and they are classic for turning in their cars every couple of years. They trade them in, And I went to Canada a few years ago, I was driving my sister's new, I don't know, it was some Jeep Renegade. I don't know what it was.
I gotta go.
Thanks, Mario. You want to say something
Alex,
before you leave?
Yeah. So I apologize. I didn't want to interrupt your sister's story, but I gotta go. I'm 10:30. I'm heading to the airport. I'm in Hunan, heading back home. Driver's waiting for me downstairs. Yeah, I do. I want to end it on China's primacy. Know this, no doubt. Understand, everyone, that what's happening is China's primacy. Everything in the supply chain is China is involved from the top to the bottom, no longer just the bottom. China's primacy across the world. I had an American friend of mine say to me the other day, well, China is shutting itself off from the world. No, China is shutting itself off from the 19 countries in the fake survey the other day of the imperialist world. But China is opening itself up to the other 150 countries across the world that represent 90% that represent something like 80% of the planet. So China's shutting itself off to that world because that world is trying to destroy China, but China is continuing to expand. Germany's FDI into China, for example, is up 30%. 35%, 30 to 35% of American and European Chamber of Commerce member companies surveyed most recently have said that despite all of the challenges and concerns and complaints and problems associated with China, COVID restrictions, etc., are still planning to increase their investments and presence in China. Not keep the same, not decrease, not leave, increase. Okay. BMW here in the north in Shenyang, where I live, I have all the wonderful German friends in that community, and BMW is booming and expanding. So this is China's primacy. It's not going to change. China is rising. It continues rising and expanding. It's now taking its successful domestic model of development, urban development across the world into, hey, we know how to develop places. We know how to develop cities. We start with infrastructure. We'll build you roads and harbors and bridges and fast trains, and we'll do it less expensively than everybody else, and we won't debt trap you like the IMF did. And so now we're taking our successful model and we're bringing it to South America, we're bringing it to Africa and all these other countries. China's rise, China's primacy. That's it. That's the last thing I want to tell all of you. It's a reality. It's happening. It's the real deal. It's also why you and Western imperialists are extremely unhappy and trying to make it come undone, but they will not succeed. That's it, gentlemen. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Take care, Mario. All right. Great to see you here. Thanks, man. Cheers.
That's a trip.
Yeah. Well, boy, we hope his driver's not going to be angry with him. But anyway, if you're watching, Mario's coming. I wanted to use this thing about vehicles here. Let's talk about this vehicle thing for a moment. If you're using your vehicle as a driver for Uber or T3 or Didi, great, you're getting something out of that investment. If you're using it to travel, if you're using it to as accommodation, yes, you're getting your money's worth out of it. But if you're like the average person, I'll use Canada again. Canadians are bombarded with TV commercials. You got to have that new car. If you don't, your neighbor is going to laugh at you. It's almost at that point where you need to upgrade. And I remember being stuck in that cycle where people would say, hey, man, is this and they put the badges on the back of the trunk of the car. Maybe it's a 328i series or 328c series. And people would be like, oh, so yeah, like, your car's like 2 years old. It's like, yeah. And you almost feel pressure to kind of trade it in. And I saw my sister. I went back to Canada. This is prior to the pandemic. And this was about 2018 or 2017. I was driving her Jeep Renegade. I think that's what it's called. Or Jeep Cherokee. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. And so I went back the next year and I said, oh, the key, what's wrong with your keys? She said, oh, no, the new car, it's keyless now. I said, what do you mean new car? What was wrong with the old car? Oh, well, my husband and I, we have this arrangement that, every couple of years, we'll upgrade. And I sat her down at the table and just saying, I'm just going to try to move my camera up a bit or down. One sec. Okay, there. I said to her, how many cars have you purchased in your lifetime? And she says, well, every couple of years. And for the last, I believe it was, we counted about, we'll say 12 for argument's sake, okay? And I went through with her and I said, she said, but I get money for trade-in. I get money for trade-in. And she's a lovely girl, works for the school board. She's happy to drive a new vehicle, and she can afford the payment and stuff like this. And it's within her, as a school teacher, she can make the payment. She's happy. And I think that, that's great. The problem is when we calculated how much money she lost in depreciation,
Mm.
We were almost at $350,000 in depreciation. And I said to her, "Is that car out front
Worth.
worth 350,000?" She says, "No." "Why do you say that?" And I said, "Look at the depreciation you've lost trading in these vehicles over the years. And you could have sent your daughter, your son to university, any university in the world, covered, paid, lock, stock, just like that." And that is the vicious circle that a lot of these countries are in with credit. They're there with cars, they're there with houses. They, we'll see if they, right now, the mortgage lenders are getting smoked. Who wants to borrow at prime plus 2 or prime plus 3? 8.25%, 10 years into it, just the interest is worth more than the value. So it's incredible. And I really feel that as we see these economies get crazier and crazier, I starting to tighten up on pretty much everything, just my way of thinking. And if I was in these countries, and you got to remember, when people report, when they report the world, they never really their vision. Yeah, their vision of the world is not Southeast Asia, it's not China, it's not Russia, it's America, it's Canada,
Australia, Canada, UK.
and that's the world to them. Here in China, things are, to me, Fernando, and I think you share this thought. If people are watching today and they have the opportunity to want to escape out of their country, yeah, I'm going to use the word escape, because things are pretty damn bad there. I have family there. My mother's electricity bills and power bills are more than her pension right now.
Yes,
So I'm calling it an escape. Do what you can to get to China, because there is hope. This country that you've been told that is evil, that you've been told that is unsafe, that you've been told has done, I don't know, I've lost track of the stories. Man, if you can get here, do your best to get here. Channels like this, channels like Fernando's, reach out. Ask us, how can I get to China? If you're of that age to move, go for it.
Let me tell you.
Tell us.
One thing that I want to tell you is, I just released a video on my Chinese platforms about BYD, the car manufacturer. And in that video, I showcase, don't quote me, but he's one of the leading marketing executives in BYD. He's a Colombian guy. He's a Colombian guy living in China, doing marketing for BYD, the second largest car manufacturer in the world. There are jobs here. There are opportunities in China for people who are qualified and prepared. The days of just beggars on the streets of the US coming to China to teach, that's gone. They want qualified people. So if you're qualified and you want the China dream, this is the place to come. Second story that I wanted to share with you, my best Chinese friend, I met him in the year 2001. By the year 2003, he bought a new car, a Honda. He still drives it. It's fine. It's great. It's fine. It works. It takes me back and forth. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with the car. It's almost 20 years old. Now, the third story that I want to share with you, because we're talking about vehicles, my decision to buy NIO, the Chinese startup that makes electric cars, was an opportunity. And I'm going to tell you two stories related to that. They told me, look, you should buy at the end of 2019. That hurt me a little bit, but hold on to the rest of the story. Because the government will no longer subsidize electric vehicles after 2019 at the end of this year. So you better buy now. And I got like 30,000 uh, renminbi, which is about 5,000, 6,000 US dollars discount or package from the government. So I bought the car. But also because I was one of the early supporters, they offered something to me that it just made the decision so easy. I can swap my battery, which is part of the NEO business model. You go into a station, in 3 minutes, you walk out, you drive out with a battery that's at 93, 95% charge. So this is great for long distance driving or even in the city. People who live in high rises that don't have access to a charger in their parking lot. Just go into a swapping station, and in 3 minutes you're gone. So for me, they offered me lifetime free battery swaps.
Wow.
So let me connect this to what is happening right now. Just last year, NEO entered um, the Netherlands, sorry, Norway, and they're bringing this technology. They're bringing this business model. Just today, sorry, in 7 days, I apologize. They're opening the first NEO house in Germany, and they're bringing the swapping technology. These people are going all over the world bringing this technology, which is an alternative to other forms of electric vehicles. Now, you're talking about keeping your car, well, and maybe living in your recreational vehicle. I just purchased a cable that has been very popular for the last few years in other brands, not my car brand. It's a car that can actually deliver power from your battery to your home or to your RV in this particular case. So think about what has happened to me right now and how I am in a really good position to weather this storm. I can now swap batteries for free, connect this cable and power my RV for free for life. That is just a very unique circumstance that I'm in that is helping me to do what I want to do, which is basically go out there and reinvent myself. As you all know, or maybe you didn't, a lot of your viewers probably didn't know, I am an educator. I am a language teacher, and I was a business owner since 2005 here in China. I was also a business owner back in my home country, Colombia, before I came to China. But this is what I've done all my life. This is my profession. This is what I studied for. This is what I went to school for. Well, last year, or January this year, sorry, I was forced to shut down. And I am now reinventing myself, doing something else. And this is something that a lot of people who criticize China for their zero COVID approach don't understand. Dead people cannot try again.
Hmm.
When China keeps its people alive, when China keeps us safe and alive with their measures, yes, we struggle. Yes, there are financial issues. I'm the clear example of that. I lost my business of 17 years. However, I get to have another go. I get to have another try. I get to hey, how many times have you dreamt about doing this or doing that, but because you're so constricted by the world that you built, you don't do it. Well, this presented as an opportunity for me. I've always wanted to do this. Okay, change lifestyle. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I don't know, connecting to electric vehicles and to cars, this car performs way better than the imported German Mercedes Benz that I had, that I basically sold to buy this one. And it is now a key element of my day to day life and subsistence in some way. It allows me to do what I'm doing, which is start to build a media company, so to speak.
Hmm.
So I'm contacted by tourism boards or offices or cities or governments and said like, hey, we see the work that you do with the content that you create. Would you come here and make content that we can use to promote our cities, to promote our locations, to promote. And this is something that I am free to do because I am not tied to a desk anymore. I am freelancing. And I can freelance because my cost of living is so low here in China. I drive my car for free. I tow my RV for free. I mean, I only pay toll fees, but that's so little. I get a cook and use my air conditioner for free because now I'm using the cable that connects my car to my RV. You cannot imagine how my life has changed from a, I wouldn't say a jet setter, but a person who was very comfortable in life. I used to travel around the world racing on triathlons up until 2017 when I got bored with it. So I had that life of luxury. I had six bicycles. Three of them were high-end bicycles. So I'm in a different sphere right now. I'm in a completely different life because of, well, the pandemic. But let me remind you, I get to do that because I didn't get COVID, because I haven't died from COVID. Look at the numbers of COVID deaths in America today. They're back up in the hundreds of deaths per day. More people die in America in 1 week than more people have died in Chinese mainland in the last 3 years. How can people refer to China's COVID approach as a failure? What brain can utter those words? Is a failure to put the health of people before the economy? That's not a failure. That's a principle. That I would even go as far as to say that's a human right. It's a human right. And yet China gets accused of human rights here and that. They are defending our right to live with the COVID zero measures that they implement. And don't get me wrong, I want to let every single one of our viewers out there, nobody likes a quarantine. Nobody likes a lockdown. Nobody likes the daily test, the 48-hour test. Nobody likes that. It's not pleasurable, it's not enjoyable, it's not something that people look forward to, but it's something that people do. It's something that people appreciate. And there are instances, of course, there are instances where things don't happen the way we would like them. And then you see videos of people arguing, disagreeing, and confronting these measures until they are corrected. And that is the really sad part. You get videos taken out of context. Oh, look what's happening. And there's some scuffle between some people who are maybe in lockdown or and some COVID authorities. Well, yes, of course, nobody likes that, but it gets sorted out and we get to live and try another day. That's one thing that a lot of people don't see out there. So adjusting, changing, adapting, looking for other ventures, other opportunities in life is what people in China have been doing. People have gone to online teaching, people have gone to e-commerce, people keep on living. Of course, is not the same. There are changes, and changes are not for everybody, but better than the option. What is the option? The option is getting COVID, getting affected by something like long COVID that can cause all kinds of issues. We don't know, in fact, the extent of those issues of long COVID. So, yeah, I think I've wandered off a little bit in
Yeah,
my
that's okay.
topic, Alex, from EVs to facing the realities of a changing world.
Yeah, I mean, you make some very good points. And I want to say again to the people that are watching this, when you want to relocate to other countries, most of the time, and let's say you're of that age of maybe retirement age or thinking about retirement, or maybe have a nest egg. Now, what are your options? Risk maybe trying to start a company in your country? What are the headwinds? Well, if you're a business owner in the United Kingdom or any European city of any major population right now, you have a lot of headwinds. One of them is currency devaluation. Another one is that the countries aren't fully open. They're open, but the world isn't open until 1.5 billion people can travel. Then it's open. We're not there yet. Then you also have issues with logistical problems. Are those logistical relationships still intact, or has your governments destroyed them? Can you order those baking goods? Can you order those electronics? Is your government, have they put a tariff on those imports? Have they put major taxes on those? Have they revoked visas for that country that maybe you had business with? Is that gone? These are major, major headwinds, but there's one major country that has stayed out of all of this mess, and it's China. China, 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 China. If you're feeling down, there is sunshine at the end here. And I can tell you how blessed I feel being here a year into China. And let me tell you guys, I left Thailand. I was living in actually Monte Carlo for 20 years. Just like Fernando, we've had our great times. We've had our high-flying days, we'll call them, and that's good. I think everybody should do that when they have that opportunity. And then sometimes you just want to gear down a bit and take it easy. And about 7 years ago, I moved to Thailand. Well, then I moved away from Thailand. I never said, why would you leave Bangkok? It's an amazing city. Yes, indeed, it is an amazing city until a world pandemic comes and you see how the infrastructure quickly changes, and you as an individual, which is not your country, quickly changes. I'm not going to give you good news on Thailand during the pandemic because it failed. And when we have all these countries around the world telling China that they should end their draconian, as they call it, their draconian COVID measures, shame on you. 186 countries have failed. And now they're using the let it rip scenario to get out of this. Well, that let it rip is your grandmother. That let it rip is your mother, your cousin. Or if you want to have long-term COVID. Well, that's the let it rip mentality. This country here, they're getting good at it. You know, my wife just moved here. Took a year to get here. Why? Because there was bloody restrictions in place. It ain't easy. China's not going to make it easy. Not when a bloody world pandemic's happened and they're trying to save their citizens of their country. But I can tell you, coming to China, I needed to be vaccinated at the time. And the only country that stepped up was a hospital in Bangkok that was vaccinating its citizens. And they were vaccinating them because the vaccinations were sent from the country to vaccinate their citizens that are out of the country. And that country was China. And I did what I could. I was, I'm in my 50s. I didn't know. And this was at the peak of COVID. I didn't know what's going on. How, you're hearing people dying. The numbers are climbing. I said, let's said to my wife, let's get on this list for vaccinations. Truth be told, sorry, sir, Thai people only first. Okay. And that's true. Anybody that tries to challenge me on that, no. That is absolutely true. I've actually signed up for six hospitals waiting lists. To this day, they still haven't got back to me. I went to visit my embassy. I made an appointment. The Canadian embassy in Bangkok. They said, well, haven't you tried the local hospitals? I said, but you're my embassy. What's this office for? Is Canada doing something for, its civilians away from Canada? We haven't got any word on that. I said, can you guys email me when you hear anything? Well, guys, it's the 1st of October, 2022. I'm still waiting for your email. So I took it into my own hands. And then when I saw that a lady called me from the hospital and she says, there's a spot. This person didn't come to their appointment, or they don't need it, or either they've left the country or whatever. There's a spot for you, Alex. She said, can you get here in the next 30 minutes? And I went down there, and I have to tell you that at that moment, and when that happened, that changed everything. That changed the way I thought. Open doors, but it changed the way I thought about, if I'm in trouble, my country ain't going to save me. The country that I paid, I don't know how many decades of taxes, that my families still pay taxes to. I'm sorry, Canada, but you disappointed me. People wonder why I enjoy China. If you're in a country like Thailand during a pandemic, a lockdown, or we'll call it partial lockdown in China, or we'll call it heightened COVID testing, is not even close to what the governments did in some of these South Asian countries. And I'm going to explain that in a little bit of detail. When Thailand shut things down, they shut the businesses down. Gone. Okay? And I remember there was one grocery store that I could only go to for almost a 6 to 9 month period, because restaurants were closed, bars were closed for 18 months. And even some of the restaurants that were open were banned from selling alcohol for 2 years. Now, anybody that's been in the hospitality business knows that in Thailand, if you want to keep your doors open and you're in the restaurant business, selling Kool-Aid is not going to keep paying the bills. It's going to be alcoholic beverages. You come to Thailand, you sit and you have a nice beer, that's what pays the bills in some of these bars. In a hospitality country, well, I'll tell you, those walks to the grocery store were the big shopping mall, because only the shopping mall was allowed to have the grocery store open. I did a live stream on my channel, Reportify Media. 90% of the small businesses, I would just go walk down. Done. Closed. Finished. Over. Bankrupt. Done. Closed. Finished. Over. Bankrupt. Hundreds and hundreds of these never survived. Never opened up their when they open up the store shops in the morning. They're done. They're finished. They're done. It's over. Now, when China has an issue, first of all, they go into the mass testing. They use their contact tracing apps. Why? Because they bloody well work. If you are in a zone and your contact tracing app goes yellow, you ain't getting into a grocery store. You ain't getting in anywhere. You're pretty much told to go home, or you're going to go to the hospital, or one of the two. And you might say, oh, but that's terrible. They shouldn't restrict you. I'm alive.
So they keep us safe.
1.5 billion people, they're alive. And what? We're going to take advice from 186 other countries that have failed? Nice try. Not happening. You know, my wife got here about 3 months ago. And she says, wow. They had a small outbreak in part of the city. But they've just kind of cornered off that city. The rest of everything is functioning. And even in that cornered off part of the city, things are still functioning. Unless it's a really hard lockdown where things, or they're concerned about getting out of control. And I'll tell you, the Chinese, whoever's running that, not one single mayor wants to fail in a COVID policy. It's responsibility right from the top down. You can't get up in front of cameras and go, well, we tried. Well, we thought it was pretty good. We thought it was effective. Not in China.
Like
Responsibility. Sorry?
Like Boris Johnson did.
Right. So
just gonna have to let grandma die, sorry.
And it's really heartbreaking to see all that. But here's some news that I want to tell the people that are viewing this. China, when they open, do what you can to come here. I drive an electronic bike, an e-bike to work. The cost for that bike a month to charge it is about $4. Okay? $4. And the bike was about $400 for a brand new bike. Maybe $420 or $440 with a couple extra helmets. But that's my daily travel to work. And insurance, I think, was about $23 a year. So if you're a person watching this program and you're tired and you want to do change, you're not going to need hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you need a game plan. If you have a nest egg that maybe you want to try, open a business here. You can do. I mean, Mario is very smart in some of these things. And of course, so with Fernando. Reach out to channels like this. Reach out to communities like this. And say, if you want to get to China, keep that dream alive. It used to be the American dream in my eyes. And no discredit to the Americans. No discredit to you guys. Okay, when I was a little kid, I loved America and did that. You know, trust me. I love my American friends. But that dream, the doors have been shut for certain nations that don't agree with what they're doing. In fact, some of them can't even travel there. If you're a Russian and you want to open up an American business, see you in 30 years, maybe. Not happening. But focus your arrows on China. Get educated. Find out what it costs to open a company. Find out what you can do to get here. Maybe you have a skill that can be used here in an economy that has kept its people alive the last couple of years. Imagine what's going to happen when this place opens. Imagine. Can you imagine 3 years of this place? Relative? I can go out every day. I can do what I want. I can go shopping. I can go to KTV. I can walk around the city. I'm not restricted to do anything. Even though apparently but the collective West has been telling you that I'm living in a draconian COVID measures. No, I'm living in a pretty damn cool country that's keeping me alive and pretty safe. And what? I've got to use an app on my phone? That's the difficult part. I'm traveling in a couple of days to Chengdu. My wife says, well, we come back on our way back from shopping tonight. Let's just, get a COVID test. Well, do you know how long it takes to get a COVID test here, guys? You open your phone, you put the QR code, you beep. They put the tester in your mouth, and you're done. 60 seconds, if it's not more than, if it's 2 minutes, and my wife's saying, oh, it's a bit long today. It's a couple of minutes. It's a bit long. But that is what this country's done to get through this pandemic. And I think they're always going to keep some measures in place. They're not going to wide open, let it rip, let's see how it goes. These apps work. They've played the long game again. If there's a message to say to the collective West, they did it again. The long game. They've waited. Some of the, I guess, strands of the virus weakened. Over to you, Fernando.
Many people criticize China for doing things that are not profitable. I was reading a tweet from a guy criticizing the high speed, the high speed rail network in China, and saying, yeah, they're running on losses, and it's not all that good. How could you consider that something to boast and something to be proud about? Because they know that those high-speed trains will run for 10, 20, 30 years, and at one point they will become profitable. And through all that time, they will have financed the higher quality of life that the Chinese nationals get to enjoy. It's an investment in the future. It's an investment in bringing the quality of life to a higher level than it was before. And let's talk about COVID again. How many times have you paid for a COVID test? I'll tell you how many times I've paid. Twice in 3 years. So that's 10 yuan in 3 years. I want you to think for a second the enormous industry that has been created in these prevention measures. There is a COVID testing booth down from this building where my in-laws live. I don't need to walk more than 1 minute to go get tested. And they have working hours. It's not 24 hours, but okay, between 7 and 9 and between 3 and 5, you can come and get tested for free. But that person has a salary, and those materials have a cost, and somebody's paying for those. Some factory is making those. Some laboratory is analyzing those, and all those people are getting paid. Who's paying? Us, the taxpayers. This is a cost to keeping us alive. And people say, like, how is that sustainable? How can you defend such an expensive, what's the option? Millions dead? I ask you, what is the option? Millions dead? No. The Chinese government is not having it. And the Chinese government is in a position to do it. Now, at the same time, think about it in terms of the economy. Because the government is spending all this money in keeping us alive, some industries are booming, and those industries are paying taxes, and those taxes are going back to the government. Because they keep us alive, we continue to work, we continue to buy, we continue to dine, we continue to travel, and all these things bring revenue. If COVID was running rampant, none of that would exist. So, is it balancing out? I am not that fine-tuned into the economics of the country, but I can put 2 and 2 together and tell you that all that revenue and all that income that the country has, selling PPE, manufacturing PPE, shipping PPE, all that capacity that China kept by implementing their effective measures, is bringing wealth to the country. Is the craziest part, Alex, when your wife was noting, oh, there's an outbreak in this place. 2 weeks, back to normal. Imagine if the world, imagine if the world had closed down like China did for 6 weeks.
Mm.
It would have killed the virus. It would have just stopped the virus from spreading. Why didn't the world do what China suggested? We were split into two avenues: lockdowns and kill the possibility for the virus to spread,
Mm.
or develop herd immunity. China says this is what we want. This is what is going to be the fastest way to get the world back on its tracks. But the ego of the liberal countries said,
Yeah.
are we going to follow communist China? No, we're going to go for herd immunity. Look where they are right now.
Yeah. It's
96 million deaths.
yeah.
Oh,
It's the
sorry, 1
let it
million
rip.
deaths in America.
It's this
Those
let it rip
deaths,
mentality.
and what people need to understand and get through their brains is that those deaths were preventable. They died because of the lack of leadership in your countries.
Mm.
And China is the proof of that. China is the proof of that. So you have the guts to come and criticize China's position on COVID. You have the the face to actually say that China has failed. Give me a break. Come on. So
Yeah.
when China opens up, when China gets back to when China determines that is the right time to do it because it has vaccinated all its elderly, because of the quarantine is accepted in the world, because people are accepting that this is the right way to deal with COVID, and people start coming here, it's going to be a complete new era for China. All the things that we're seeing done are going to be fully utilized and continue to grow. I I wanted to go back a little bit to the idea of this Nordstrom sabotage for a second. That's a big 180 that
Yeah.
we're doing right now. But when people suggest that Russia did it, um, I there's one reason why that doesn't add up. The One of the largest blocks that is being built, created, and presented to the world as an option for development and for the future and for business and for leadership is China, Russia, Iran, India. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this group is being affected by Nordstrom. Let me explain. Nord Stream, sorry. When Russia loses its leverage, when Russia is weaker at the negotiation table, when Russia is going to struggle, China is going to have a weaker ally. When Iran is going through a color revolution, when Pakistan has been through another color revolution, China's allies are being played with. China's allies are being weakened. That's the double whammy, triple whammy that I was telling you at the
Mm.
beginning of my talk here today. Blowing up this pipeline affects China. It has fewer stronger allies, Russia being one of them. So when you consider the alternative of creating a multipolar world, who doesn't want that? America. Who's against that? Who doesn't want to lose his hegemony? America. So it's one of those. I've tweeted a couple of these things. The Yalu River, the Tonkin Gulf, Pearl Harbor, they all were pretexts. And I'm not going to say the one that people don't like me to say, but you know what I'm talking about, the one in 2001. Those are pretexts for America to go ahead and ramp up their war machines. Did you see the notification from the American embassy in Russia inviting all Americans to leave Russia? What does that tell people? What does that tell you? Now, Ukraine has applied for a speed up approval of their joining NATO. There's a video that I posted several times where Poroshenko, the previous president, admits that there were NATO training centers within the borders of Ukraine without it being a NATO country. That's evidence. I'm not talking. Go to my Twitter and you'll see. So what we're seeing is Putin is cornered. His pipelines have been blown up. He has lost some territory. And they're just sending more billions to Ukraine. I just saw a tweet yesterday and I tweeted like, anybody keeping tabs on how many billions they've sent? Like 1.12 or 1.14 billions more just yesterday. What does that do? What does it mean for the world that Russia loses? What does it look like? Do you think Putin is going to go down? Do you think he will be removed? Do you think he'll be assassinated? Do you think he will accept a defeat? Again, we're talking a cornered person. What is his way forward? Escalation. That's his only way forward at this stage. He lost his bargaining chip. And that's the really concerning situation. It's a very unstable world today. And I would like to remind people that Russia is not the final objective. China is. Russia is not in a position to offer to the world what China can. The economy is not there, the policies and the politics are not there, the optics are not there. That's how China has been extremely successful. China, take COVID away from the picture. China is very attractive to foreign investors. Direct foreign investment keeps growing and growing and growing, as Mario pointed out, 30% from Germany over the last year on year, increasing in direct foreign investment. It's the place to be, is the place to invest. So this conflict in Russia is the real proxy to attack China, to make China's allies weaker. And what I foresee in the very, very near future is an increase on the Taiwan situation, the Taiwan question, as China likes to say it. More weapons, calls for independence, more visits, and in a way, doing what they did to Russia. Russia was promised that NATO was not to expand east. They kept on doing it until they got to their doorsteps. And China has said it. This is my red line. Pushing
You
for
know,
Taiwan's independence is my red line. Yes, Alex.
sometimes we've just got to follow the money here. Living in Monte Carlo, Monaco, for 20 years, I really got up to speed with offshore companies, how they're structured, where they're structured. The Panama Papers and the Pandora Papers that were out a few years ago, which were released, basically there was a data breach in Mossack. Mossack used to be a Panamanian company that would, for about $800 to $1,000, you could form a company, and they would basically, at that time, you were allowed to hide the beneficial owner of the company, and or the ultimate beneficial owner, as what they call it. So normally, what you would do, and I can tell you how a structure like this is set up. You'd walk into a bank. Let's say any bank in the Principality of Monaco, or actually any bank in most offshore destinations, whether they're the Bahamas, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Jersey, Channel Islands, you name it, Turks and Caicos. And that boilerplate didn't always sound good because it was connected with usually offshore. So if somebody said, here's my business card, I'm from the Bahamas, but he's spending 99% of the time in London, the Bahama address didn't really make sense. So destinations like Hong Kong, Panama, stuff like this kind of felt okay on a business card. So normally they would start with a Hong Kong company. Once they structure the Hong Kong company and they hid the beneficial owner, the ultimate beneficial owner, could be yourself or whoever, they would then throw a trust in front of it. Now that trust is a big business, massive business. Trust business are huge. And what it says is, it exactly goes by that word, trust. You're allowing the directors of the trust to basically manage your company, or your, we'll call it frontal company, your assets. And you can easily see that by going into any major harbor where you live, any yachts. Okay, for example, if you go to the south of France, you go to the south of France, you'll see registered in Guernsey, registered in the Valletta, in Malta, because Malta has a zero tax. And sometimes they do that to avoid VAT. VAT on fuel is huge on these yachts, especially when it costs about $100,000 to fill up the tank. I remember the Lady Mora used to be a huge yacht that would sit in the main harbor in Le Condamine in Monaco. You used to drive by it every day, $240 million yacht. I think the price tag to gas it up was about $170,000. And you do 20% VAT on that. I think that's about 34,000 euros every time you fill up the tank, unless you put a company on that boat and you register that boat in whatever jurisdiction that you want. So that I really learned in 2 decades of being in Monaco. Wow, big money is moving around. Now, some of it's legitimate. Some of it is wealth that people rightfully deserved. And then some of it is, not so transparent. Okay? And the structures that were still in the place when I was there were legal structures. If you made a bunch of money, you put it in the structured company. You would hire a trust fund at X thousands of dollars a year. So technically, when somebody either would protect a lot, put their yacht in a company's name, then you don't have that liability as an individual person. Somebody can't sue you. They'd have to sue the company. The company could easily just say, "Well, we're broke, we're done. Come sue us in a court in Liechtenstein." Good luck with that. Okay, and these still exist to this day. And it's a very complex system, and I understand it very well. I know exactly how it works. I know the trust fund managers. I know the bankers. So it's like this. If you have something of big value, military assets, or let's say you're the president of a country and you're an actor, okay, a comedian. And as a comedian, you're on this worldwide tour to sell your country to the world to get into every club that you can and do all this stuff. I want to be part of NATO, Zelensky says. I don't use the Z in front of it just for YouTube reasons. And I want to be part of the European Union. Okay, no problem. I get his desires to want to be in the club. And when you see his wife on national television being interviewed by BBC wearing some fashionable dresses and stuff like that, you've got to wonder what the hell is going on. And his name, I heard about his name way earlier than you guys did. Oh, did I hear about it? I heard it in circles, in the Monaco circles. And there is a community down there that knows exactly from a monetary issue on what's going on. And here is what I'm going to show you guys, that this may be something that you guys are not aware of, but you should be aware of. And lo and behold, if you look up the Pandora Papers, and like I told you, it's not hard to open up these companies. 3 or 4 grand a year if you're protecting 10 to 20 million is peanuts. And don't forget that these corporations are non-taxable. So that means you pay no tax on in and outgoing. And you stick behind there. But whose name have we got that's popped up here? Well, this is interesting. He and his close circle were beneficiaries of a network of offshore companies, including some owned expensive London properties. Did you at least invite Boris over for tea, Mr. Zelensky? You guys can do this research. No media is going to bring it to your attention. Go look up the Pandora and the Panama Papers, because the SHIT hit the fan when Mossack had a data breach and they leaked all the ultimate beneficial owners of these companies. But nobody's done the homework. It's right there in front of you guys. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I've gone through it. I've looked at it. And yeah, there's some surprising stuff. He and his partners in comedy production owned a network of offshore companies related to business based in, as we call it, the BVI, but the British Virgin Islands, Cyprus, and Belize. What on earth with a comedian, an actor, a president, be owning a company in Belize? I wonder if he's going to sanction Belize. I doubt it. I wonder if he's going to ask for bank accounts to be seized in Belize or the British Virgin Islands or Cyprus. I doubt it. But then he's other good buddies, right? He's got other buddies. It doesn't just stop at Zelensky and his comedy crusaders, who the world has pretty much added their flag to their profiles because he's such a great guy. Allegedly. He's such a great guy. Well, who is this band of characters that he's been involved with? Okay? I don't know. Who's a good promoter? Could it be, I don't know, Mr. Blinken? But he's a squeaky clean guy, right? Well, or is he? The companies listed in Ridgeline website include a data and tech startup and have government contracts, including some deals with the Department of Defense. Wow. December 2020. Biden's Secretary of State Blinken has ties to venture capital funds with national security portfolios.
Alex.
So, is Mr. Blinken and Zelensky having coffee in Belize talking about their British Virgin Island yachts? No. They're on a crusade to tell you about this evil, evil country, Russia, Well, they are sucking the dollars out of your pockets. I didn't write these stories. The Western media wrote them. But hey, maybe it's fake news. I don't think so, because all you have to do is go up to the Pandora Papers or the Panama Papers, and you will see every single person, down to the trust fund, down to everything that is involved in those companies. It's very easy to it's very easy to spot these if you know what to look for. And I've kind of given you guys an idea of what to look for. But there it is. Panama Papers reveal offshore holdings of Ukrainian president and his inner circles. Why would they open these companies? Why? You have to ask yourself why. Unless you are a business owner and live and being a resident of the British Virgin Islands, nothing to stop you from living there. Nothing to stop you from living in Monaco or Jersey or whatever. Legitimately living there, running businesses and doing all that. But when you're the bloody president of a country in war and you have offshore bank accounts all over the world, including ties to properties in the United Kingdom, who's your buddy who has been a major financer of this NATO-backed, we'll call it war, whatever you want to call it. Unbelievable. The words stunning come to my mind. And that's just the start of it. I haven't even rolled over the other rocks. And I'll show that next week. But I'm digging very deep into this. And, man, you got some comments, I think, Fernando.
Who's running this show? Who's running America? I mean, just this week, you've seen video after video after video showing. And I know that people hate to hear this. But are you blind? Biden's mental condition is worrying. This is a person who controls the nuclear codes, and he's asking whether a person that he knows is dead is in the audience, or he's just walking and wandering away from pulpits after giving speeches. He's reading the action commands on this. This person is not at the mental capacity that is required to run a country. 2 points here. One that was made by the great Nori Vitaki and his Friday Everyday website and his Friday Everyday YouTube channel. Thanks to Nori Vitaki as well. What kind of system presents the choice of a leader between a person with zero government experience and a person with clear mental decline? And that is your choice. Those are the best two people, according to their system, that you can choose from. And that's your democracy. That's what you defend. That's what, and many people, but we are victims to the system. Well, change your system. No. Second Amendment. Do something about it. The fact that you don't do anything about it makes you a supporter of the system. So back to the question that I just asked. Isn't it extremely dangerous that this person with this mental decline is in charge of the nuclear codes? It's not dangerous unless he's not the one in charge. Dun, 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 dun. Who's really in charge? Who's really not worried about this person being in charge of the nuclear codes? And when you show all this Pandora Papers and Panama Papers, you start to see who really is in charge. Corporations, people with vested interest in making policy that is going to make them richer and richer and richer. I've had the privilege and the advantage and the pleasure of explaining how the systems are different in China and America when it comes to electing government. We are few days from Xi Jinping very likely being re-elected as president and secretary of the party and the leader of China. And people keep on posting, "Oh, look at that! This is not a democracy. It's a different kind of democracy." We just talked about the stupid democracy that Americans defend. Person with zero experience in government and tons of shady businesses. Person with decades of experience in government with mental decline and tons of experience in cheating, lying, and twisting the laws. Do you remember 1994? John Biden presented a law, a crime reform that, and I posted that video on Twitter as well. He says, this little crack cocaine, anybody in possession of this much crack cocaine will go to prison. The judge doesn't have a choice. He has to go to prison. And then, oh, what do we see in Biden laptops? Hunter Biden laptops.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Being in possession of all this stuff. Why isn't he in prison? Anyway, that's the choice that the democracy that we have in America presents. What is it in China? It's completely different. My family has asked me, I don't understand this world. Can you explain China to me? And I went to them and said, like, look, they elect representatives little by little. So a district will elect a leader, and the district will elect the city leader, and then the governor. It's all by representation. What does that do, Alex? And I explained this to my aunt who was asking me. She's in her 60s and 70s. I said, that means that the weed smoking guy in the park of Bogota, Colombia, doesn't choose the president. That means that the old man with Alzheimer's in a retirement home doesn't choose the president. That means that the criminal doesn't get to choose the president or buy other people's votes to choose the president that will benefit him. That doesn't happen in China. That's what happens in other countries. And that's where you end up with the governments that you end up with. With pot being so popular in America today, who's choosing your president? Who's choosing your leaders? The people that are going to the ballot box, are they high? That's an interesting question to ponder. Who's choosing your leaders? Hey, you answered that question for me. But that's the position that I was in. I was able to explain to my aunt and some people in my family how things are different. And the last point that I made is most of the leaders of China are engineers, people whose mindset is to give solutions to problems. Well, most of the legislators in America are lawyers or business people, but mostly lawyers, people who are talented at finding the shortcut, finding the loophole, finding not a solution, but finding the way out that will make it legal to now keep doing what we do. And the final thing that I mentioned to my aunt, and I think that converted somebody, at least in my family, but donations. There's no money involved in China's democracy. There's no you don't need to campaign and collect money from super PACs and people who want a return on their investment at some point. That doesn't exist. And that's why they get to push in one direction. And that's why they accomplish what they accomplish so quickly. So
I have I have a comment up that's put up on the screen here. Look forward to Alex talking about the Chinese leadership offshore accounts that were also in the Panama and Pandora papers. Interesting comment. So yeah, I would like to address that. I'm going to address it more in a larger scale than maybe one to two individuals. Let's just have a look here on what President Xi has done here in the country to combat crime. Now let's compare this to the elected West and what they would do for a clampdown on crime from the government level. Let's just read here in a series of speeches he delivered, and we're talking about the Chinese president here. After taking office in 2012, Xi Jinping cast corruption as not merely a significant problem for his country, but an existential threat. Endemic corruption, he warned, could lead to the collapse of the Chinese Communist Party and the downfall of the state. For the past 2 years, Xi has carried out a sweeping, highly publicized anti-corruption campaign in the terms of sheer volume. The results have been impressive. According to official statistics, the party has punished 270,000 of its cadres for corrupt activities, reaching in almost every part of the government. I don't think I really need to answer that question on the screen anymore. There's 270,000 examples. If you'd like to read that, yes, I think I have answered your question in pretty good detail there, Daiwei. And we will move on with this conversation after that. And feel free to Google that, clamp down on corruption in China, and you have your answer. So my pleasure. Anytime that you want me to answer anything, pop it up in the comments section there. That would be greatly appreciated. I think we're going to...
facts and evidence and proof. That's the best
part. Exactly. Or at least show us the clampdown of 5 people if they have that in America or the collective West. But I just want to say to all the viewers today that it's been a real experience to bring you here on National Day here in China. And what a great surprise to bring Fernando into the conversation. I did add his link for his main channel, Fermube, in the description below. I've added that while I was typing around in the back. So I highly suggest that you head over to his channel after you're done here and subscribe to it. And of course, he will point you in the other direction on that channel to his other channel that he has. And that number is correct, Zug, 270,000. Yes, that is correct. Yes, and the Quantum, the Collective West clampdown, 0 people, right on that one. Just also want to say thanks to Ken and many of you guys. Suntan, thank you so much for coming out and showing your support today. And for Fernando coming on at the last, and Mario, of course, Mario and Mario's driver. I want to thank for being patient with him today. What I'm going to do, though, guys, I'm going to give Fernando the last word here, and then we're not going to shut the chat down right away. We'll just go to a little bit of music and let you guys just chat. I don't like cutting these live streams off because some of you guys still have conversations going, so we'll just go to a bit of music and a blank screen, or not really a blank screen. We'll try to find something. Anyway, over to you, Fernando, to shut down the show. And I hope after the 16th to the 23rd, I'm going to have 7 back-to-back live streams here. Somebody asked about this. Is this the iChongqing studio? In the distance there, well, I'm pointing, I can't really see, in there, we are finishing our studio. That is a brand new studio with I think it's 5 meter by 4 meter LED display. And we're going to a more calm, wooden, kind of Joe Rogan-ish setting in there. And we will have guests on in that studio. I figure we're just polishing it. I'd say probably another week to 2 weeks. But from the 16th to the 23rd, I'm going to do 7 back-to-back live streams here in the iChongqing news office. And, of course, I would love to have you back on, Fernando, if you can find some time in your travels. That would be greatly appreciated. I'll hand the mic over to you. And then when you're done, we will just put some music on and everybody can chat for a bit. And then we'll take it from there. Okay, over to you, Fernando. Thanks, man.
Well, I guess the last thing I would like to say is that China is a country that is misunderstood or misinterpreted. But the worst part about it is it's a country that is misrepresented. It's a country that is painted in a way that is not factual and is not true. And you're getting that from your Western media. You're getting, if you are from the global South, like my country, you're getting your media regurgitated and just barely translated from Western media like the New York Times or the Washington Post or AF, all these, or AP, all these media that have agendas to present China in a certain light. We just talked about leaders sent to jail for corruption, right? The West presents that as, well, there's no opposition in China. You see what I'm trying to say? So how can you get the best information about China? Well, try to talk to the people who are on the ground, who can not just tell you things, but show you. When there are people out there doing live streams on the streets of Kashgar, of Urumqi, when there are people doing shows in the streets of Shanghai, Beijing, when there are people showing you, not telling you, but showing you the reality and the truth of China, that's where you can get some truth. That's where you can get some balance to the distorted version of events that Western media and some disgruntled foreigners in the country may have. Try to find the balance. The story of China is one of enormous success, enormous development, and a great future. So that's it for me, and that's it for me on this show. So thank you once more for all of you watching and liking and commenting. And thank you to Alex again for inviting me today. And well, until I see you again, take it easy. Bye.